This was recommended to me a while ago because of the mental health rep. This book blends fantasy, magical realism, and mythology all wrapped up in a mystery, a contemporary romantic suspense. This is a YA romance, a paranormal fantasy. Like most of this author's work, has both brains and romantic tension, plenty of fate action, and even a touch of vampire lore. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. Today I'm going to be talking about my 25 and 25, aka all of the books that I am really excited and hope to be able to read in 2025. So I have a mix of physical TBR books, books that have been published but I don't own, and then also new releases. And then I also have a mix of genres, so I have some fantasy, some romance, some thrillers, and some nonfiction. So if you're interested to find out what books are on the list, then keep on watching. So this is actually the first time that I've ever made a list like this before, a 20-something in 20-something. Also, little disclaimer, if by the time you're watching this you know that I have read some of these books, then that's great. That means that I'm actually reading the books that are on this list. But at the time that I'm filming this, I have not finished any of these books yet. So I'm going to start with the books that are published that I own. So starting us off, we have How to End a Love Story by Yulin Huang. This is a contemporary romance story that follows two writers. Helen, a best-selling author who is battling writer's block and imposter syndrome, and then Grant, who is a charming screenwriter. The two have a complicated history that involves some sort of tragic or traumatic accident that has haunted the two to this day. They are thrown together on a TV show, and old wounds are reopened and feelings start to emerge. This is an enemies to lovers, second chance, and forced proximity romance, I believe. When I heard that this was not only the author that was adapting an Emily Henry book, but was also the writer for the show Dollface, I was immediately like, add to TBR. I love Dollface, such an underrated show, and I'm really interested to see if this book is going to bring that same energy. The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This is a thriller mystery that follows a very successful defense attorney, Sarah, and her husband, Adam, who is a struggling writer. One day, after Adam begins an affair, his mistress is found brutally murdered at their second home, and Adam is arrested for murder. And now, Sarah must defend her husband, even though she doesn't know if he's guilty or innocent. This sounds like it'll be very suspenseful, a lot of marital drama, and maybe have an unreliable narrator. I've only read one other book by this author, and it was okay. The characters were very interesting, but the plot was just very mid. But I hear good things about this book, so fingers crossed. In Turtles All the Way Down by John Green, we follow Aza, who is a 16-year-old girl that is struggling with her mental health. She somehow gets dragged into a mystery involving the disappearance of a billionaire in the hopes of solving the case, while also navigating friendships, family, and possibly a romance. I knew that this book was very heavily focused on the mental health, but I actually didn't know until recently that there was any kind of mystery component to this story. This was recommended to me a while ago because of the mental health rep. But like now, I'm not really sure if that's even the case, because based on the synopsis, it actually seems like it's a little more focused on OCD than anxiety, but either way, I think it'll be a really interesting story. Little Thieves by Margaret Owens is a YA fantasy that follows a master thief named Vanya. It feels like there's a lot going on with this story, honestly, but basically our main character swaps places with a princess and steals from the rich, but then gets caught and then gets cursed, and then has 2 weeks to break the curse and escape, all while being pursued by her guardian, a detective, and the real princess's fiance. Now, this has been on my TBR for a while, ever since Margaret from The Word Nerd told me about the ace representation in this book, so I am very excited to read more books with ace representation. Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz. Now, with my recent obsession with One Tree Hill, you probably already knew that this book was going to make an appearance on this list, but in this, she opens up about her secret double life in a cult. The synopsis mentions that she was slowly stripped of her autonomy, manipulated into marriage, and drained of millions of dollars. In addition to talking about like the trauma in this book, she also discusses her healing process and how she was able to find the strength to escape and eventually reclaim her life. Now, Haley is easily top 3 favorite characters for me on this show, so I was shocked when I heard that she was basically in a cult the entire time she was filming this show. So I'm very glad that she got out, but I'm also very eager to hear more about this experience. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings is a new adult contemporary romance. I hear conflicting things about whether or not this book is or is not a romance, but I think this follows the potentially toxic relationship between Magnolia and BJ. I'm imagining like Chuck and Blair, but like British. And I'm here for the drama and the secrets. I'm expecting like enemies to lovers, second chance romance, cheating, heartbreak, just all of the unnecessary drama that makes for a great CW show. In the Weeds by BK Borison is a small town second chance contemporary romance. It might be Grumpy Sunshine. I'm not really sure if the female main character is Sunshine. She might also be grumpy. But this is the sequel to Love Light Farm. So this follows some of the characters that we met in the first book. I think that the two main characters met on a trip and like hooked up, like one night stand type of situation. And then some time passed and they eventually end up running into each other unexpectedly at the farm. I really enjoyed Love Light Farm, so I don't have any reason to think that I won't enjoy this one. On to the books that are published but I don't own. We have Piranesi by Susanna Clark. This is a fantasy, I guess, about a guy who lives in a house with a bunch of rooms and uncovers secrets about the house or something like that. I know that there are themes of isolation and mental unraveling. This book blends fantasy, magical realism, and mythology all wrapped up in a mystery. I know that this book tends to be very hit or miss for people. Either you hate it or you love it. It's basically a weird literary fiction book, so I probably need to be in the right headspace to, and also the right mood to read this. The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is a mystery thriller suspense book with maybe a little bit of horror about a woman who was accused of tragically murdering her family back in the 20s, but was never proven guilty. And so now it's like 50 years later and she's like 70 and has like a nurse that comes to the house to help her. And one night, she decides that she's going to basically write a tell-all of what really happened to her family. It's giving creepy old house, creepy old lady, kind of like Rose from the Titanic, but more murdery. I've only read one other book by this author and it was just okay. So we'll see if this author can maybe impress me with this one. Indigo Ridge by Devaney Perry. This is a contemporary romantic suspense about the new chief of police, Quincy, and the eldest son of the town's founding family, Griffin. Although Quincy is the chief of police, she's technically an outsider, something that Grumpy Griffin doesn't mind reminding everybody about. But a woman is found dead on Griffin's family's property, and the two have to work together to basically solve the case, which, considering their one-night stand, isn't awkward at all. It's a small town, enemies to lovers, Grumpy Sunshine romance with a hint of mystery. Lots of potential here. Hopefully it doesn't disappoint. Next is The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I'm actually reading this one currently. It's kind of a fantastical take on the classic Sherlock-Watson duo. It follows Anna and Din, Anna being the Sherlock and Din being the Watson, and they are investigating a strange death of a high-ranking official, and by strange, I mean the guy was killed by a tree that grew out of his stomach. And as the investigation develops, they begin to uncover a scheme that threatens the safety of the entire empire. It's supposed to be a fantasy mystery thriller, and like I said, I've started this one, and I have to say, not very thrilling. Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. This is a paranormal fantasy that follows Viola, who's a vampire and a struggling real estate agent, but her latest property is haunted by the ghost of the house's previous occupant, who was murdered. The ghost refuses to move out until his murder is solved, so Viola enlists the help of a medium, and the two of them encounter a bunch of other wacky characters as they try to uncover the mystery. It sounds like this is going to be a mix of like romance, fantasy, and humor. This is the same author that wrote Alone with You in the Ether, which I refuse to shut up about because that book was amazing. So hopefully this book is also good. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is another sequel. This is the sequel to When in Rome. This follows Annie, which is the sister to the male main character from the first book, and Will, which is the bodyguard to the female main character from the first book. Annie wants to start dating, but she feels like she's not very good at it. Enter Will, who agrees to help Annie and basically coach her. So they go on a bunch of practice dates to help her improve her flirtation skills. So this is like small town, bodyguard, kind of fake dating contemporary romance. Fake dating is my favorite romance trope, so sign me up. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This book is a mix of fantasy, romance, and enemies to lovers vibes, with plenty of fate action and even a touch of vampire lore. I'm not sure how you say the main character's name, Saris maybe? She has some strange powers and ends up crossing paths with Death, which I'm assuming is an actual character in the story. This leads to her somehow opening a gateway into a whole new world where she discovers that Fae aren't just legends like she thought they were. Based on the synopsis, it sounds like the tension between our main characters, Saris and Kingfisher, is wild, and I am here for it. I am hoping that this will be like a high stakes romantasy with mystery and morally gray characters. Love redesigned by Lauren Asher. The story centers around Julian and Dahlia. Julian is a billionaire with a bit of a savior complex, and Dahlia, his childhood rival, just returned to Lake Wisteria after a messy breakup. They find themselves teaming up on a home renovation project, and things quickly go from business to personal. From my understanding, this hits so many tropes. It's enemies to lovers, second chance, small town, billionaire contemporary romance. I have never read a billionaire romance before. I've also never read anything by Lauren Asher, so this will be a first for me. The Will of Many by James Islington. This is a fantasy mystery that follows Viz, who's been accepted into the most prestigious academy in his republic, but not for the reasons that everyone thinks. He's actually there to uncover the truth behind a murder, find an ancient weapon, and potentially tear down the Republic itself. So he has to play the part, make friends, and rise through the ranks while keeping his real identity a secret, otherwise he might get killed. I hear great things about this book. I am excited but also nervous because my track record with fantasies is shaky, so we'll see. Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. This is a YA romance, and like most of this author's work, has both brains and romantic tension. This follows Mallory, who gets roped into playing in a chess charity tournament and surprises everyone, including herself, when she defeats the world champion and bad boy of chess, Nolan Sawyer. As she starts climbing the ranks, she has to navigate her complicated feelings for chess and for Nolan, all while supporting her mother and two younger sisters. This is enemies to lovers and forced proximity. And I'm mostly excited for this because of the chess, but also I want to give this author an opportunity to redeem themselves. Since this is YA, I think this might work better for me than her adult books. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. This follows 21-year-old Frances, who catches the attention of a journalist named Melissa while performing spoken word with her friend one night. Frances gets pulled deeper into Melissa's orbit and finds herself drawn to Melissa's husband. What starts out as a flirtation soon turns into a complex and intense relationship that begins to unravel everything in Frances's life, from her friendships to her relationship with her father. This story is all about the messiness of youth, relationships, and the complicated nature of self-discovery, and also explores themes like self-awareness, identity, and vulnerability. I tend to like stories like that, but it can be hit or miss sometimes. Moving on to new releases for 2025, and these are not in publishing order, they're not in any particular order at all, to be quite honest. But first on the list, we have First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. In this, we have Aiden, who is a radio host of a romance hotline who's lost his faith in love. One day, single mom Lucy calls in asking for advice on behalf of her mom, and the interview goes viral. The whole town is talking about her love life, and it starts to make her question if she truly is happy. Now, I don't really know much more beyond that, but what I do know is that that town that's talking about Lucy's love life is my hometown. So I'm interested to see how/if the author incorporates that into the story. It seems like it'll be a cozy, feel-good romance. I've heard this compared to Sleepless in Seattle, which I haven't seen, but maybe if I like this book, I might just watch it. Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams. Yes, another Sarah Adams book. This is the third book in the When in Rome series. This one follows another one of the sisters to the male main character from the first book, a second-grade teacher named Emily, who is living her best life until her rival Jack moves back to town and becomes not only her neighbor, but also her colleague. And ironically, it actually might work in her favor that they become colleagues, because she accidentally sends her boss an email revealing her secret career as a romance writer, and Jack apparently is the only one who can help her get her manuscript back. It sounds like it'll be a fun, like, enemies to lovers, forced proximity romance with some drama, humor, and some steamy tension. I tend to really love Sarah Adams books and have a really good time with them, so I have no reason to think that this one will be any different. Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. This follows Xavier and Samantha. The synopsis for this isn't really giving me a whole lot to work with, to be quite honest, but I think they go on like a really incredible date, and then Sam is going through some kind of family crisis and she feels like she can't be in a relationship, so she begs him to forget her or something. I don't know. I don't really understand what this book is about, but it is an Abby Jimenez book, so it doesn't matter. Enough said. Anything by her is an automatic, like, goes on my TBR. The Love Haters by Catherine Center. This is another one where the synopsis doesn't really give you much, but you have Katie, who's about to be laid off from her job as a video producer, when her coworker Cole offers her an opportunity that could take her career to the next level. It's an opportunity to do a profile on his brother Hutch, who is a Coast Guard rescue swimmer in Key West. But Cole and Hutch don't get along. Hutch hates love, and Katie can't swim. I think this is going to be enemies to lovers, but I could be wrong. And with Key West as the backdrop, I definitely plan to read this in the summertime. Now for my top 3 most anticipated releases of 2025. I have been anticipating a new release from this author for a while, so I am so glad that it is finally happening. It is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a historical fiction that takes place in the 80s, I think, about a woman who joins NASA's space shuttle program. The main character becomes unlikely friends with the other women in the program as they prepare for their first flight, and apparently something happens that changes everything. It has our main character questioning everything she thought she knew about life, love, and her place in the world. It's ironic because one of the reasons why sci-fi is not a genre that I read very often is because a lot of sci-fi has to do with space, and I absolutely have zero interest in anything that has to do with space or aliens or anything of the sort. I'm not sure if it's possible for me to care any less about space than I already do. And I don't know what it is about this author's writing. It's like laced with crack. Every book that I've picked up of hers, I cannot put it down. Even when it's about something that I don't care about, like tennis, I find myself fully consumed. So we'll see if she can make me care about space. A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. Our main character, Sarah, used to be one of Britain's most powerful witches, but that was before she rescued her aunt from death. As a result, she lost most of her magic, was kicked out of her guild, and now runs an enchanted inn with her talking fox. That already sounds like a lot, and that's just the setup. She learns about a spell that could restore her magic, so she works with Luke, the icy magical historian, to dig into the mystery of the spell. I think this is also enemies to lovers and maybe Grumpy Sunshine. The publishing date for this book has been moved twice now because this was actually supposed to come out last year. This is also the author of the only cozy book that I've ever given 5 stars to, so I'm very excited for this. If it's anything like the last book, it'll be cozy, cute, funny, and give us a new charming found family to fall in love with. Last and certainly not least, my most anticipated book of 2025. It is the 3rd book in the Skyland series, Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. Yes, let's give it up. Let's round of applause, yeah. Now this is Hendrix' story. The story we've all been waiting for. Hendrix is that girl, like period. She is the it girl. She is the definition of living your best life. She's independent, successful, funny, outspoken, and she can probably take you places you didn't even know were on the map. But we're following her during a difficult time as she is caring for her mother, who we've learned from the other books is dealing with some sort of dementia that is continuing to worsen. But in the midst of all of that, she meets a tech mogul named Maverick who gives her a run for her money. He makes her feel seen and understood, which is all any of us really want, isn't it? But for some reason, he's off limits. I don't know what that means. My first thought was maybe he's married, but that would be crazy because the whole last book was about her best friend who got divorced due to infidelity, which is not a spoiler, by the way, but that would be wild if Hendrix became the other woman, but we'll see. I'm nervous and I'm excited and I cannot wait for this to be released. Alright, I feel like I've been talking for 5 ever. You're probably sick of me, so I'm gonna go. But before we head out, Let me know down below what are some books that you want to read by the end of the year, or let me know what are some of your most anticipated new releases for the year. Drop a purple emoji, any purple emoji that you want, down below in the comments if you made it this far into the video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Hit that bell so you get notified the next time I post a video. Click here to watch a video that YouTube thinks you really like, and click here to see more bookish content from me, and click here to subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.